I introduced you to this slide that's up on the screen, good news. I think we're going to linger in this. I'm just going to keep coming in and out of it when it's my turn to stand at this table. This idea of the good news of the gospel that I shared with you at our anniversary service, and I gave you this verse out of Isaiah 40 verse 9 that says, "O Zion, that bringest good tidings, get thee up." I feel like that phrase is supposed to be part of the vernacular of this church for a long time. Get thee up into the high mountain, O Jerusalem, that bringest good tidings. Lift up thy voice with strength. Lift it up, be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, behold your God. And we talked about how this verse reminds us that there are places that have a voice. There are geographic spaces in this world that God has set apart, that those places themselves are an open heaven. That when we are there, that when we are in that space, it is as though it's a little bit easier to hear from God. It's a little bit easier to find His presence. Can I find His presence anywhere? Absolutely, and I hope that you do. Does Paul tell us that we are now the temple of the Holy Spirit? Yes, he does, and I believe that with all of my heart. But I don't believe that displaces this reality that there are spaces and places that God has ordained and set aside to be a geographic location where others find Him and where it's easy for others to know Him. And I believe that 311 Selden Road is such a place. I believe there are places that God sets aside, makes sacred, calls holy, to be spaces where we are easily awakened to His presence, to hear His voice, as if those places actually had a real voice of its own. And I believe that 311 Selden Road is one of these spaces. In the 1950s, when what was then North Riverside Baptist Church was a church plant occupying the elementary school across the street, and then ended up acquiring this property, and what is now our chapel became their very first church building that they constructed. They were filled with vision and purpose. Don't you know they were? Right? And then in just a few short years, in 1960, they built, can you imagine how big of a structure this was in 1960? They built this sanctuary. They built this education building. They had already, through a building program, built the education build, what was then an education building. Now our offices are on the back of that chapel. And then in the 90s, they built what is the fellowship hall, or what we call the cafe complex. And then when their time as a church was done, they passed the baton to us, the City Life Church, in 2019. An incredible gift, an incredible act of generosity to give this property and everything in it to another church that didn't even worship the way they worshiped, didn't believe all the same things that they believed, but they were courageous people that understood what we're talking about tonight, that they believed in the sacredness of the soil, that it wasn't just supposed to be another dormitory, although dormitories are important. It wasn't just supposed to be another apartment complex, although apartment complexes are important. It wasn't just supposed to be another shopping center, although shopping centers are important. They knew in their hearts that God had set aside this property to be a sacred space, an open heaven, where people were supposed to come and find His presence, and they passed that baton to us as a church, and we carry a sacred responsibility to be a steward of this space, to be a steward of this place. And now with 5 partner churches and 5 partner organizations all working together right here at 311 Selden Road to make Jesus easy to find in our city. Genesis 28 in verse 16, we have this great story where Jacob is on the run for his life, and there he is with a rock for a pillow, and he has this vision of angels rising and descending between heaven and earth. And in verse 16, we have this great verse that we read together at the end of January that says, "Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, 'Surely the Lord is in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it.'" There are people right now that are somewhere in the world that are going to move into this city, and they're going to buy a house in this neighborhood. They're going to buy a house in this community. And they're going to be out walking their dog one day, and they're going to pass through this parking lot, hopefully with a baggie in their hand. And all of a sudden, as they pass through, they're going to encounter God's presence. Even though they might not be praying, even though they might not be listening to their favorite worship music, even though they might not even be reflecting on a verse that they read, or maybe they're not even sure they yet believe in the Bible, but they're going to cross this soil and something's going to happen to them. And they're going to have a Jacob moment. And they're going to say, I did not even know that this was a holy, sacred place. See, this isn't just for us and for our church. Dare we believe that? It's for every other church that gathers here. It's for every other organization that calls this address their home, their base of operations. When repair people come to work here, when people are in line to pick up their kids from the elementary school, when it's a pass-through for kids on their bicycles, whatever reason people come here, I believe with all of my heart that this is supposed to be a sacred space, that this is supposed to be a holy place, and that 311 Selden Road has been entrusted to us as a church to keep it as such. Not just for ourselves, not just for us to experience what we experienced here tonight, but so that others might find that same kind of encounter. And all the other churches that are here with us, their heart is captured by that same reality. Catalyst Church that will be meeting in here tomorrow morning. Epicenter Church that will be meeting in the chapel tomorrow morning. Anchor Church that'll be right here in the same sanctuary, a Spanish-speaking congregation that'll be here tomorrow afternoon, and then tomorrow night that's just started with us in December, a Burmese congregation, Myanmar International Church, that will be in the cafe on Sunday evening. Every weekend, these 5 churches, we include ourselves in the 5. We don't call it 4 partner churches because we don't posture ourselves as a landlord. Do we have a responsibility as such? Of course we do, but we don't see ourselves that way. We operate in the responsibility of landlord, but we don't posture ourselves as a landlord. We posture ourselves as a partner with these other congregations, all working together for the sacredness of this space and the sacredness of this soil. How about 5 partner organizations? How about that first one? Shiloh Therapy and Care. Yes. Our very own Jennifer Muro and Cameron and their family, they posted a picture, if you follow them on social media, of them with their business license. Come on, they are official in the 757. We sent them their lease for this property this week, so they're extra official. There's a lot of healing that's going to happen through that ministry in this place. Always learning, Marcy Radecki, working with kids, helping them to learn. Yes. I think Mark is back there, Channel to Brazil for Christ. Come on, if you've not met him, so good. He's actually the only dude on this list as a leader. How great is that? How about ladies doing stuff, leading? We believe that here at City Life Church. Character Performing Arts with Celeste Agate, so good. Yes. And then our very own Ashley with Kid Life Club preschool and before and after school program. We're going to be talking more about them as part of our annual business meeting tonight, that we're headed towards 5 partner churches, 5 partner organizations. If you call this your church home, you're part of something special that's happening here. If you're looking for a church to call home and God's speaking to you about City Life being your home church, He's asking you to be a part of something special. We do not show up as City Lifers asking the question, what are we going to get out of it? Do we get something out of it? I hope we do. I hope we do. But that's not a reason why we come. We come because we've been given an assignment. We come because we've been given a responsibility to steward this property for this generation that we are and for generations that are to come long after we are gone. We are creating something here that is unique. People and organizations working together to make Jesus easy to find in our city. We cannot do it by ourselves. I would say we should not do it by ourselves. even the act of working together in and of itself is our witness for what Jesus prayed for in John 17, that the church would be one. It is what I believe the mystery of Christ that Paul preached about to the church of Ephesus, of unity and harmony. Everything that we just kind of gave to you is our why. For the rest of what we're going to be doing tonight, is this the only slide that's been up the whole time? Okay, all right. I was like, dang, nobody told me. Ooh. Give me the one that says actual budget. There, yes, thank you. Whew, scared me for a second. I was like, I'm just rolling up here, not paying attention. Oh, so good. I want to work through a few of these slides as part of this, and then we'll break and continue on for the business meeting. I started with that. I wanted to do that little bit of a review for the end of January because that's our why. That's why all of this matters. That's why these numbers matter. That's why we're excited about these numbers. That's why we are excited about these resources. That's why we work so hard to keep track of the resources that you generously entrust this church with, is because we have an assignment. And that assignment has to be resourced, and God has gathered this church together and the other churches and the organizations here on this property, and then together we are resourcing this assignment that He has given to us. We had the highest giving per person in the history of the church in the fourth quarter of 2024. How great is that? I'm not going to explain how we calculate all these numbers, but we track this giving per person. You see that on the far right side there. 2024 is where you see the 203.21. The next column over running down, that's 2023. So what it compares quarter by year. I put this little asterisk here because when I gave you an update at the beginning of the quarter in 2024, going into the fourth quarter, we were way behind in our giving. And based on the giving that had come in, right, 103, 184, 107, 616, you could see we were way behind in our budgeted giving for the first 6 months of the year. And then you saw a little bit of an uptick in July, September, but not enough to make up. And so when we came into December, I gave you this phrase on the screen. Our total budget for the year is $477,600. So our final quarter will need to be $139,423, which would be record setting, right? And then when I'm up here telling you that, I have to posture myself in a way that believes it's going to happen, that you see. But on the inside, I'm thinking to myself, there is no way. The all-church leadership team, we get together 4 times a year, but one of our meetings is to work through the annual report, which you'll get for the business meeting in just a few minutes if you call this your church home and you choose to stay. Is that we go through that page by page, line by line, box by box, number by number. That's how serious we are about our accounting and our transparency with our finances. And I was joking with them that in the governance team meeting going into December, we were like $25,000 off budget, which that's a big number, right, for our church. It's a lot of resources, and that would eat away into our reserves. And I remember I was joking with ACLT that Christina Montgomery, who's also on our governance team, as I was sharing from an accounting perspective how unlikely it was that we were going to see that, and she said to me, "Pastor Fred, where is your faith?" And I said, "Well, I said, Christina, there's times," and our whole team was there. So there's times where as the person that's tasked with leading this team, there's times where I'm Pastor Fred and I posture myself in a place of faith, but then there's times where, as the chief financial officer, I have to just give an accounting of where we are. And she paused for a moment. If you know Christina, she is undeterred. She paused for a moment and she said, "Accountants can have faith too, Pastor Fred." I was like, dang it! She's giving me no quarter. Oh, but she had faith, right? And that room found faith, and then we set a record. Come on, coming out of December with one of the biggest giving months in the history of the church. We share about that not because we're excited about money. We share this because we're excited about our assignment. We're excited about this assignment that he has given to us. We believe that it's sacred. It is a sacred assignment that he has given to us. And all of the resources that you sacrificially give go towards that assignment. Let's go to the next slide. Missions giving, historic year in missions giving. Historic year, right? This is in addition to what you just saw. All the money that's given to missions goes back out. None of that pays for salaries or electric bills. Are those things important? They are because of what I believe about our assignment, but we also know there has to be money that we just say that we take it in this hand and it goes right back out in the other. In 2023, missions given was $32,931, which was one of the biggest years in missions giving for our church. And then you guys just blew it out of the water. Come on. In 2024 with over $45,000. And that's not counting the $14,000 or so that was given for the trip to Brazil that we sent this year. This is in addition to that. And already for 2025, we've seen $6,700 come in for missions that people are giving above and beyond their tithes and offer. It's so good. It's so good what's happening here. All right, let's go to the next one, and we're landing the plane. This is our list of every month. We send these checks out to these organizations. Anonymous means that it is a missionary or a missions organization operating in a closed country, and it would be dangerous for us to disclose who they are and where they are. And so, but we want to list it. And so whenever you see anonymous on there, which you've seen that before, sometimes you'll see it a couple of times as this list ebbs and flows. That's what that means. If missions giving continues on the pace that it is, this list is going to get a lot bigger this year. How great is that, right? I want to have to move this list to the left, move that logo to the middle, and I believe that 2025 is the year of starting the second column. Right, the year of starting the second column. And so when you designate money for missions, this is part of the way that money gets used. And so every quarter, because we want to make sure that it tracks through, because then these are commitments that we make to them, that you're going to be faithful in what you give, and then we're going to add this list. And so my hope is that the end of this first quarter, January, February, March, at the end of the quarter, that we'll be talking about adding to that list because of your generosity. All right, and then this is my last one, and then we're going to take our break for the business meeting. Capital improvements. This is a big list this year. You guys showed up this year with your generosity for giving to the legacy offering, right? A new sanctuary air conditioning system for this space, the sanctuary lobby doors so we could have true special needs, handicap access out there, new windows that we finished out that project in our childcare spaces, renovations in the nursery, renovations we did in the chapel, the offices, doors in these two hallways that we had to upgrade because of where we were not meeting fire code, the new projector here, and the new soundboard. But part of these are important too because it's our responsibility to resource the other churches that meet in this space. Right? And so what we're saying is that we don't want to just get by and to just provide these other partner churches and other partner organizations the bare necessities. That's not how we want to operate. We want to create a space for them that resources their ministry, and then we call these partner churches and partner organizations because we're all working together for the same assignment that he's given to us, that this is a sacred space. And so I'm showing you that because this was an incredible year of what we were able to accomplish. And every year we've got to have a page like this. Every year we have it because at some point it's going to be our turn to pass the baton to the next generation. At some point, all those kids that are pulling each other's hair and picking their nose and peeing in their pants in the nursery, right? Those are our future leaders. And what we're not going to do as a church is give them a dilapidated facility. We're going to give them a building that's modernized and thriving, and we're going to pass this baton that this is a sacred space. That this is a place where God is saying to us, get thee up, and we're going to teach that to them. And we're going to model for them what generosity looks like, not just for what you get, but how you resource the next generation so they can carry forward with the vision that we have. So stand with me. Father, I thank you for this work that you're doing here at 311 Selden Road, for this sacred responsibility that you have entrusted us with, for this assignment that you have given to us. Find us faithful. Find us faithful. Every single one of us that's in this room, for every single one of us, for the part that we're supposed to play, for the part that we're supposed to carry. Like we're all walking up to something that's too big for any one of us to pick up, but together we lift it right off the ground and we almost don't even feel the weight of it. There's so many of us carrying it. Let that be the testimony of our church. Let that be the reality of our experience. Continue to stir our hearts with the excitement and the enthusiasm that you have given to us for this place, for the sacredness of this soil. In Jesus' name, come on, and everybody said together, amen.